Welcome to this explainer. We're diving into an absolutely massive shift hitting the Premier League for the 2026-27 season. We aren't just talking about tactics on the grass today. No, we're unpacking the behind-the-scenes financial overhaul that is literally rewriting the rulebook of English football.
So will sweeping new financial rules or on-pitch transitions define this season? That's the core question we're tackling. Because honestly, the action off the pitch, in the boardrooms, with the accountants, it's become just as dramatic and carries just as much weight as a stoppage time winner on a rainy Tuesday night.
Okay, here's our roadmap. 1. The new rules of the game. 2. The underdog survival guide. 3. The title contenders. And 4. What to watch for.
Section 1. New rules of the game. So, we're officially saying goodbye to the old profitability and sustainability rules, PSR, and stepping into a highly structured, totally new financial era.
Under the old PSR system, the league looked at overall profit over a rolling 3-year period. It was pretty broad, but the new SCR, the squad cost ratio, well, that's strictly focused on in-season, on-pitch spending. It's a real-time monitor of player wages, coach wages, agents' fees, and transfer amortization. It's happening right now, not 3 years ago.
Under this new ratio, non-European clubs are capped at spending 85% of their football-related revenue on their squad. Now, for clubs in UEFA competitions, that cap gets tighter, down to 70%. What's really cool here is that clubs are completely free to take that remaining percentage and pump it into off-pitch upgrades. Stadium expansions or better fan experiences, totally free from financial penalties.
Think of these thresholds almost like video game mechanics. Stay under the green threshold, that 85% limit, and you're completely safe. But the Premier League knows stuff happens, so they built in a multi-year buffer called the red threshold that can sit up to 30% above the green line. Pushing into the red gives you room for big investment, but man, it creates massive, immediate risks if you overstep.
And here is the kicker. If a club breaches that red threshold, there's no more waiting 3 years for a punishment. They face a fixed, immediate 6-point deduction this season, plus an extra 1-point hit for every £6.5 million they overspend. It's a brutal, real-time penalty that is going to completely change how executives build their squads. To build a safety net under all these spinning caps, we've got the 3 SSR tests. First up, the working capital test. This just ensures a club has at least £12.5 million in cash on hand for short-term shocks. Second, the liquidity test. This proves a club could survive an £85 million stress test, like, say, a sudden relegation. And finally, the positive equity test. Make sure long-term debts aren't wildly outstripping assets.
So with these incredibly strict, immediate financial guardrails locked into place, who's actually going to conquer this brand new landscape? Let's pivot away from the boardroom and head straight down to the pitch to see how different clubs are handling survival and glory this year.
Section 2. The Underdog Survival Guide. We're going to zero in on Coventry, Hull, and Ipswich because they're taking 3 wildly different approaches to surviving these new rules.
These 3 underdogs have entirely different philosophies. Coventry represents pure stability. They're bringing a tiny £3.5 million net spend into the league, but they're backing it up with a massive 97 goals scored in the championship. Hull represents chaotic survival, somehow dragging themselves up despite a transfer embargo and conceding 66 goals. And Ipswich? Well, that's pure ambition, spending massive money to avoid another drop.
Coventry's strategy is firmly rooted in continuity. Under manager Frank Lampard, they're betting that their high-powered attack can just translate directly to the Premier League. By keeping top talent like Jack Redoni and making really smart, targeted additions like Taiwo Awoniyi for some physicality, they're building chemistry while staying safely tucked inside their new green threshold.
Now contrast that with Hull City. Striker Ollie McBurney summed it up brilliantly, saying it's hard to game plan against them because they play in so many different ways. Guided by Sergej Jakurovic, Hull relies on sheer unpredictability. I mean, they survive the championship under an embargo and cover up a really leaky defense with pure heart. It's an incredibly brave way to tackle the top flight.
And then there's Ipswich, taking a completely different route. They've dropped well over a staggering £100 million on 10 new players under manager Gary O'Neill. Relegated 2 years ago, they are absolutely refusing to let history repeat itself. By signing established top-flight performers, they're pushing their financial headroom to the absolute limit just to make sure they have the quality to survive.
Section 3. The title contenders. So how are the absolute giants of English football managing these new squad cost ratios?
At the very top, we have a massive contrast in philosophies between the reigning champions Arsenal and a Manchester City side facing a monumental identity shift. It really boils down to stability versus transition.
Arsenal looks incredibly stable right now. Winning the title last season after a 20-year wait hasn't slowed them down one bit. Under Mikel Arteta, they've kept their core stars and comfortably navigated the new rules to add proven Premier League quality like Bruno Guimaraes and Christos Tolles. Right now, they are the absolute benchmark for balancing financial health with on-pitch harmony.
But look at the sheer scale of the exodus at Manchester City. Pep Guardiola's gone. Key players like John Stones and Bernardo Silva have departed, and Ballon d'Or winner Rodri is likely following them out the door. New manager Enzo Maresca has a mountain to climb. They are still using that financial power, signing Elliot Anderson for a club record fee, but navigating a rebuild of this size while staying under that tighter 70% UEFA threshold. That's going to be the ultimate test for their front office.
And hey, we definitely shouldn't count out Chelsea. Xabi Alonso is taking over at Stamford Bridge. And because Chelsea actually missed out on European football, their spending cap sits at that higher 85% limit. Alonso can focus 100% of his squad's energy on exploiting that domestic advantage, gelling new signings like Danny Welbeck and Maxence Lacroix without the distraction of midweek continental games.
Section 4. What to watch for. With all of these moving pieces, what should you really keep in mind as you watch the matches this weekend?
I want to leave you with this final thought. As we've seen, staying out of the red threshold is now just as important as keeping the ball out of your own net. A £6.5 million overspend guarantees a point deduction that could literally cost a club the title or send them crashing down to the championship. The invisible game being played by the accountants has never been more vital. So as the 2026-27 season kicks off, keep your eyes on the pitch, but never forget the ledger. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and enjoy the season.